page 7. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, unto enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. In the Buddha's Dharma and Sangha, until enlightened I seek refuge, through merit from giving and the rest, to aid all may I become Buddha. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be parted from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from bias, attachment, and hatred. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer, the Shaktic land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer, the Shaktic land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. To the founder, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed, transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer, the Shaktic land, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When, O supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies formed supremely pure, wisdom motion like a golden mountain, paying the places in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With a supreme sign, face like spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. Just 3 like you, the 3 worlds are not, incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one gone to usness, I prostrate. The purity that frees one from attachment, the virtue that frees one from the lower realms, the one path to sublime pure reality, to the Dharma that pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and whole such are the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Homage to the Supreme Buddha, homage to the Dharma refuge, homage to the great Sangha, to all 3 ever devout homage, to all worthy of respect, bowing with bodies as many as all realms, atoms, and all aspects. With supreme faith I pay homage. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions. Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, the flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning in a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the foe of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by the waves of aging, sickness, and death. From Tushita's hundreds of gods, protectors heart, to tip of his fresh, pure white, heaped curd-like cloud, Holosandrapa, Dharma's omniscient king, pray come to this place with In space ahead, on lion throne, lotus and moon, venerable guru, smile brightly with delight. Pray stay hundreds of eons to spread doctrine as supreme body, speech, and mind, which I have heaped up since beginningless time, especially what has contradicted three vows. Each I confess from my heart with strong regret. In time of strife you strove to learn and practice, shun vague mundane concerns, made life essence-full. O protector from depths of our hearts, we rejoice in your powerful great deeds. Venerable gurus, from love and wisdom, constantly massed in your Dharmakaya sky, pray loose a rain of vast profound Dharma on fields of disciples just as needed. May whatever virtue that I've here gathered bring benefit to all beings and doctrine, and may it make venerable Sandrapas essential teaching specially shine forever. Mig me se where gen racing dream can be one jan peliam to maru jong say song wait up gong chen ke be su gen song kapa Sandra Peshabla Soadib. Oh, glorious and precious root guru, pray take seat of lotus on my crown, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments of body, speech, and mind. Oh, glorious and precious root guru, pray take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness. Bestow attainments common and supreme. Oh, glorious and precious root guru, pray take seat of lotus at my heart, caring for me with your great kindness, until supreme awakening remains steadfast. Homage to the exalted three jewels. Thus have I heard at one time, the Blessed One was dwelling in Project without approaching out, together with the great assembly of monks and the great assembly of bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of the countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. At that very time, the superiority of Charlotte Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, perfectly looking at the emptiness and inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Then, through the power of the Buddha, the Venerable Shepherd said to superiority, Charlotte Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a child living in training who wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke in the superiority of Charlotte Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to the Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whichever son or daughter of the lineage wish to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, should look perfectly like this. subsequently looking perfectly and correctly at the emptiness and inherent existence of the five aggregates also. Form is empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is other than form, form is other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Sharaputra, like this, all phenomena are empty, without characteristics, that is, they are not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement and no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Sharaputra, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no composition, no factors, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no visible form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no object of touch, no mental phenomenon. There is no eye element and so forth up to no mind element, up to no element of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance and no cessation of ignorance and so forth up to no aging and death and no cessation of aging and death. Likewise, there is no suffering, no origin, no cessation, no path, no wealthy wisdom, no attained, and also no non-attained. Therefore, Sharaputra, because there is no bodhisattvas rely on abiding the perfection of wisdom, and because their minds have no obstructions, they have no fear. Sharaputra, this is how a bodhisattva, a great being, should train and found perfection. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Shara, the bodhisattva, the great being, well said, O child lineage, so it is. The profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced exactly as you have taught. The Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One has said this, the venerable Sharaputra, to Shara, the bodhisattva, the great being, and the entire assembly as well as worldly beings, gods, humans, demigods, Gandharvas, and others, were filled with admiration and high praise what had been spoken by the Blessed One. In the holy supreme abode of the Dakinis, possessed of clairvoyance and miraculous power, unwaveringly caring for practitioners as your children, homage to those in three places that you. Tayata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhi Soha. Through the power of truth of the exalted three-jewel speech, may all the sight of negativity such as form, ours be stopped. May they become unafflicted, may they be brought to stop. All enemies, obstructors, and hindrances not reach free Soha. The 80,000 types of obstructors pacified, freed from adverse harmful conditions. May all be conducive and perfect auspiciousness, bring happiness and life here and now. Sashi Boki Juchi Meto Tramri Ramlingji Ni
Good evening, everyone. How are you today? Good. How's the temperature? Hot here. It's good here? Good here.
It'll be cooler tomorrow.
Really? Tomorrow is the colder? I thought tomorrow is the 80s.
75.
Oh,
It's like the cooler tomorrow.
good. Thank you. We need like that. Yeah, in India, you know that thunderstorm, they come down to heat. But here, maybe not necessary. It is? Hope so. Yeah, but it is summer. We have to accept Boston, New England summer. Summer 1 month very hot, winter 4 or 5 months very cold. This is the New England weather. Anyway, it's very wonderful. All of us here again. We have a lot of these activities gone last week. I hope you all be happy and enjoy great merit. We put great blessings for all the sentient beings. Then anyway, everyone knows then always very important to whenever you study, whenever you practice, first you set up the motivation, then last your dedication is very important. Without your dedication, then may you go there, maybe someone front you, their light is change, light is change, so that doesn't going, then maybe you get emotion. So why you doesn't go? Then you want to destroy your them positive karmas. Therefore, before leave from the door with dedication, then we save the very safe place. Then the motivation, anything we do, motivation is very important, right? We have good motivation, then whatever we want, the motivation takes for our, activities to go that way. Therefore, we think about all sentient beings, same as us. They wish to free from all the sufferings. Then I also wish to all them free from suffering, achieve enlightenment. Therefore, I'm going to study practice Dharma. That's good. Then Mahayana motivation. If you study Mahayana teaching it doesn't matter. The person is, the motivation is not Mahayana motivation, then it doesn't matter. You say, I'm Mahayana person. You're not Mahayana because your motivation is not that. Therefore, motivation is very important all the time, any time. Then maybe today we do a lot of meditation. I think you guys like to meditation. Sometimes, the meditation, usually meditation means whatever we study, this is a meditation. You have to think about that. You have to more familiarize your mind that this is meditation. When you close your mind, if you close your eyes, see like that, it's first you bring your mind to more close for us. When you meditation come body, also there are many different ways. And the best way is that you motivation, or the subject is your mind. You meditation come about like that is best way, but it's very difficult for us. If we can see something, then we focus that subject, keep the mind. It's a little easy. Therefore, Buddha's statue is, one of the subject. There are two different meanings, reasons. If you start, you meditation come body. You looking, the subject is Buddha statue. First is that you can see easy. You can just see that. Secondly is Buddha statue. If you can keep your mind on that, also big merit. Not just piece of rock, not just piece of flower. Therefore, different meanings. Then the first we have to many different methods to bring our mind to more close our body. Usually our body is here, the mind is go to everywhere. Right? Are you guys mind here? Yes? Oh, what happened today or something? Oh, I forgot something to do. Oh, tomorrow I have to what to do now. The Buddha's teaching say when you listen the teaching, same is the deers listen the sound. The deers, they very touch the sound. Do you know this? It's true or not? I don't know. Deer. Deers. Animal, deers. No. Yeah, they touch very strong on the sound. Then they, listen the sounds, then they got it. Mumba. Sengendla karo, samjhe. Koso sengendla. Mumba. Hunters. The hunters kill them. Because like that, we touch the sound, then you lose the life also. But like that, you keep your mind where you study. Like that is good. But our body here, mind go to all the different areas, thinking many things, a lot busy. Therefore, the many different methods bring our mind to bring with our body. They are bidding. What's a bidding? Bid. How is it? What is it? Breathe meditation. This is also one method. You just count out, in, out, in, out, in. That keeps your mind to more there. When your mind focus that, the another mind looking for your mind. Is he or she? I focus there or not. Like that. One our main mind, then another mind looking for the main mind. Right? Like that. Then this mind was very kind of shija, introspection. It's very important. They're always big. What's that? Can't say. I know the word. I forgot. Yeah. Karo sanyuva, samvegmi, spy our mind. Is he or she focus the subject or not? then he's fall, very what we call loose, sleeping, or just going out. That mind is very important. Always one mind catches our mind. Therefore, we need to know that kind of always, looking at our mind. What I do, not just checking the other's mind. Then today just we do different way. We all think about for first we start to here to our knee, okay? Don't think others, don't listen others, okay? Try to keep your mind. First you start here, now you just more relax. This is not, I'm trying to, our mind bring for our body, next to the body. Then when your mind we can control our mind, then very easy to meditation. Right now we cannot control our mind. Mind control us. We cannot control our mind. This is also one method for control our mind. Okay? Then everybody start to, thinking your mind. Don't think you less than others. Just thinking you top of your head, then go down, your neck, then your shoulder, then go down, thigh, and the leg, and the knee, then go until your feet. Then that kind of mind looking, come back to your heart, hold that mind, keep your mind, catch the mind in the moment. Okay. Are you guys got it? Or just we don't know what's going on? Just can you keep your mind a little bit? It's slow. It's not easy, You can hear something, You can think some other way, But it's difficult. But slowly like that. Then what kind of mind is more familiarized or more power, more use for us, then their mind was always like that, very easy to, Then you think about which to all sensitive is happy. Shambharu. Devadadana Chambaru. Love. It's love. We meditate to life. We call life?
Meditation on love.
Meditation on life.
Love.
Love.
Not life,
Love. Okay? And I wish to all sentient beings happy. That kind of mind, keep your mind on the moment. This call we meditation to living life. Life. Love. Okay? Keep you the moment. I wish to happy all sentient beings. Keep the mind. Keep that kind of mind. Manifest. Manifest. That kind of mind. Manifest. The another mind looking is my mind keeping the object or not. Okay? Thinking all sentient beings happy. That kind of mind manifests our mind. Another mind, looking the mind, is the mind, keep the object or not. If they forgot, bring back. Okay? Now start now, okay? Okay. This is enough. Too much, then you are too fast to become enlightenment. Then all of you go enlightenment, and I don't have place to teach. Right? I'll be bored. Anyway, like that, okay? Slowly every day. I think then it's difficult you catch your mind, then looking for some, whenever your house, Buddha's image. Just looking your mind, focus that every day a little bit. Not too long. First we meditation say, perfect short time. Perfect short time. Then sometimes you look sleeping, you forgot things, you try to meditation, then you lose the interest. Right? Some people they have to practice. There's some sleeping, then I can do practice, then sleeping. They usually that if you do right away, maybe finish 30 minutes. Takes maybe 2 hours. Because you sleep the whole time. This is happening, Some people that keep that practice very light, then they're sleeping, like that, Sleeps will always very come to our teaching place. Yeah. Then the time also, that Nambegi Chugi, that Ting Roach, never Chedan, that Demashida.
So the fundamental of the Buddhism, is the Four Noble Truth.
Dembashi said, Nangati Yabu Shiba Yena, Tangun Tana Santi Chuse the Chick, one Territon Taban, Jitting and Rulutan Taba. That's also really Chava.
So if we understand the Four Noble Truths, just like it is explained in the teachings by the Buddha, then we'll understand that it accords with the science and the way of life, and so we'll understand that how it is really true that everything is just like it is explained. Whereas if we talk about or discuss on refuge, for example, refuge or karmic law of cause and effect and so forth, so that is, of course, some of the karmic law of cause and effect can accord with the the day-to-day way of life, but the refuge, and so forth, so that doesn't accord. So if you tell somebody about that, it will not make sense to them. But if you tell them about the Four Noble Truths, the suffering, like the cause of suffering, the cessation of the suffering and the cause to cease the suffering, and so forth. So if you tell about that, then that makes sense, and it could, because it accords with the worldly or the day-to-day life.
아니 가서 신이 되더라고. 너는 지금 나봐 슈 생이 제일 많이나 다 신이 되서 뱀 무슨 몇 개쳐 버렸어. 얘만다 다 남의 추지 담보 생이나 신이 되랍잖아. 다 거기 지금 곧 And
same with the Guru devotion. Like we say, the Guru devotion is the root of all the path. So without the Guru devotion, there's no way you can gain any realizations, right? So in order to gain any higher realizations, first you have to have the realization of Guru devotion. And but if that is explained to somebody who doesn't believe in Buddhism, it will not make sense to them, right? No, they will not believe. Or even to somebody who is just a beginner. Like, if you were to tell about that, to a beginner, they will not agree with that. But about the Four Noble Truths, and then also the Two Truths, right? The conventional and the ultimate truth. They all accord with the way of life, it's our way of life. So how the things are existing conventionally and ultimate and so forth. So those things, and how we understand the Four Noble Truths, like suffering, the cause of sufferings, and so forth.
And that is not because I'm going to so danger on it. And the two that number 36 and number 30 got chick. And then number 30 got chicks or that indicator just say my three. 오두시나다 단단히 간주나 강가테를 다셔 나만도 그게서 하고 말들어 다다 트트네 아니 데브니다 선의 진도 간지 남베 트릭 아니 남베 따럽스 오카가데 진도 와서 근데 남베 트릭 세야 되다는 지금 남바 임바도 마엠바 차는 걸로 지와이나 지 가로다 제 초하다 배도 요와 이래서.
And also, so His Holiness advised, some people to extract, the meanings, of the Buddhist science and Buddhist view, from the teachings of the Buddha. So, like we have the volumes of scripture here. It says the teachings of the Buddha, the translated teachings of the Buddha, and then the translated, the commentaries, of the Buddha's teaching. And so right now, if we look into that, this is so vast, so there are like hundreds of volumes of scripture, right? And it is very difficult to see exactly what he's talking about. Yeah? So then His Holiness advised, to just extract all this into two, like kind of a division. So one will be about Buddhist science, and one will be about Buddhist view, and something that can be understood by anybody who studies about it.
그러나 대제대 다 가서 다 남백이 따답다 다 남백이 세리 강가 다티는 빠진 되더라고.
And so the Four Noble Truths kind of includes both Buddhist science and Buddhist views.
그러봐. 간지 제단 제부 캠링 가서 수주 말다. 추켈랭에 mel랭에 수되면 당가서 미면서 제단 제부 캠링으로 왔어.
So whether we believe in religion or not, everybody believes in cause and effect, right? Is there anybody who doesn't believe in cause and effect? As a human being, we all believe in cause and effect, right?
I don't know how you do any animals.
Human beings. So like if we want to have a crops, we understand, right, that we have to grow, right? We have to sow the seed in order for us to have a crops. So as a human being, we will not expect to have a crops without sowing the seed, right? So that's the cause and effect understanding. So that kind of cause and effect is understood. So we can say, in general, you can understand about the cause and effect. But then in Buddhism, we talk about the merit, virtue, right? So if you create a merit, you'll have a happiness. So the happiness is the result of the cause, virtue. So that's what we believe in Buddhism, right? Of course, that if you tell to somebody who's not a Buddhist, might not accept that, right? So that's the different, that's like a different kind of cause and effect, right? But in general, we all accept that the result has to come from cause. There cannot be result or effect without the cause, right? So we all accept that. So that's in general,
그래서 다 먼저 미인 신체 같이 맛이 땡겨 주실라 같이 되게 전에도 캠핑에 요래서.
So as a human being, with the human intelligence, of course, without those kind of some kind of defectives, right, or the deficiencies and so forth, then they will not maybe understand. But in general, right, as human beings, who can speak and understand, does know that that the effect has to come from a cause, right?
저도 민선이 가셔 민선이 하고 요스 맛이 대교 리슨도 민선이 됐어.
So this is again arguable thing about the definition of human being. You know the definition of human being? More?
How you
I think you have already gone through this, right?
How you identify human beings? Yes?
Oh, you were saying something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I remember it was speak and understand.
Yes.
Okay.
Somebody who can speak and understand is a human being. Is that right?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, that's what you told us.
Positive? And how about baby and the mother's womb? They cannot speak, they cannot understand. It's a bit more confused.
So in Buddhism, especially in the philosophy field of Buddhism, there is a meaning of the definition. There is a meaning of the definition and the meaning of example. You can say example of human being is somebody who can speak and understand. But if you say definition of human being is somebody who can understand and speak, then it will go too far, right?
Yes.
So then you have to say that definition has to be vice versa. So that means a human being has to be able to speak and understand, and whoever is able to speak and understand is a human being. So that's the vice versa, has to go on both sides. So therefore, it's very difficult to say this is the definition of human being. So there are human beings. There are many different with many different colors, right? The black, the brown, yellow, white, pink.
Really? 그래서 시도 semje 차상 안에 대원도 봐도 누가 먼저 릭지 바라왔어.
So and then again it's sort of categorizing, right? So you say you fall into that category. So when you say fall into that category, then you can again it depends on how you define that category, right? So we say okay, so in the category of those who wants to have happiness and who doesn't want to have suffering, right? So if you say that, then all sentient being falls into that category.
Right? Good. Like that, tendency also that pattern or that is tendency by the time the line back I may change laya. Tang also even we can say maybe that more chemo growth that you grow. Chimo chatangina kanji hindu jewala hindu talama savi tak go mato matana chimo killing it was.
So just like that, we anyway, so that just came on the way, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about the cause and effect, right? So human being also, there's a cause and effect. So the human beings are effect, and they have to have a cause to be born as human beings and to grow up and all these things, right? So just like that, everything, all the impermanent thing has a cause, right? They are brought from the cause, right? So the fruit has to come from the tree, and that has to come from the seed and so forth, right?
Right. That tendency by the time I do semje chasan dewa ju dunga mandava chingso that they chukele malangi chano chibar was.
And whether we are a religious or not, a believer or not, we are all same, being wanting to be happy and not wanting any suffering, right?
The time nambe kanje gocha jasna mando kan deagi kan munda ta dunga sa yin was. Take me chisam, take kawayong jetting me chisam res.
And so when we're talking about the Four Noble Truths, then we're talking about the true suffering, right? And the true origin. So true suffering is actually talking about the suffering, right? The different kinds of suffering that we go through, we experience, and some which are not even recognized as in suffering by the worldly people, right? And then there is the cause of the sufferings, the true source of sufferings, true origin.
그거 대단 가서 차상이 누가 여도 가서 관계 액셉 체크로 was. 샘치 출래 캐는 차상 체크로 was.
So when we talk about the true suffering, even though there is a difference in the details, but in general, when you say suffering, that's accepted by all, right? We all know we go through these difficult moments, feelings, experience, which we call suffering.
그거 다 마시기 가면도 등아디 가원의 연구였다.
And of course, then there's a different way of defining the suffering, right? So different people may define the suffering in a different way. And we may say, doing this would be happiness or suffering, doing that would be happiness or suffering. And so in Buddhism, of course, then when we talk about the suffering, it explains the sufferings in more deeper level, which the regular worldly people will not understand. But anyway, in general, when we talk about suffering, we all understand, and we all are same in not wanting that kind of suffering. Right?
다 등하서나 나도 강 문제가 등하서 등하 때 체주 남로 강 문제가 등하서 와 나도 차 다니 도구면서 때 등하에 들어.
So what we don't want to go through is what we call suffering. Can we say that?
Can you say that?
Can we define the suffering as something that we don't want to go through?
Right? Someone say hot tea. You guys doesn't like hot tea, right? Hot tea, very hot tea. Tibetans like to very hot tea. You guys maybe not like very hot tea. When you have drink it, you have to drink a hot tea. It's also suffering. It's nothing big deal. They don't cause you any bad, but it's also suffering. We don't want to, feel a little getting cold. You guys a little getting cold here. It's also suffering. But then the kanji kam mandiwa tala dungas muzita kadi cheto ores dungas no inji pe me 나도 딱 가로 잡치면로 딱 문제 고 말로.
So you can say what we don't want to experience or go through is what we call suffering, right? Can we say that?
다들 가wan 영화
Any
에서나.
contradiction? No.
다들 가wan 영화 에서 근데 가리 영화 코로나 다지 때 한번 제도 지 지진 때문에 뭐 진도할 때 숑어르나 가서나 다고 지진 때문에 뭐 진도할 때 되게 동안에 숑어레스 랍그레스.
So that's something which we don't want to go through or experience is called suffering, right? So that thing, where did it come from? Right? It has a cause, right? It has to have a cause, right? For it to come. Right? It has to have a cause. It has to have a condition. So with many cause and condition together, then we experience that thing which we don't want to go through, right?
배차차 등하세던 가서 나사도 가서 나야도 나사들 등하 무슨.
For example, the suffering of suffering, which is like the sickness, right? The disease, like a headache or toothache and so forth. So that's called suffering, right?
그리고 된데 나사도 가와라. 그다 잡혀져. 그 뒤에 뭐지 저걸 때는 건 나고도 왔어.
So that's suffering of a toothache. So that came from where? It has to have a cause and condition for it to, come, right? It has for it to be experienced.
Maybe
right?
Too much sweet. Then toothache. 그리고
Like eating too much sweet, can be a condition for the toothache.
근데 이제 아주 시천에 더돌아 지금 추가 깨자 따고야 말면 근데 지금 아주 대래 다 가로 줄고 미다 안 따자면 세상 로당 켈레다 직바로 로데 그러고.
So even if we accept or not, or whether we accept religion or not, whether we are a believer or not, we all can accept that too much of sweet, can cause toothache, right?
Yeah. 어디 근데보다 당가도 아니 둥아때마 둥아세들라 저거자 대강은 아니 대강도 대 용어 티 제들라 근주라 그래서 아주 미다다 근주다 그래서 근주세.
So the true suffering is the result, and the true origin is the cause, where the suffering comes from.
Then the Tati getting Andu Karna Kunjus, Tati Kunjus, Karajala, Maripa, Mishiba, Tea, Tatelapores, Tea Anzo, and the Shawachini and the middle doing the younger race, Lapshawars.
So the true origin is what we call the cause of the suffering. So what do you mean by true origin here? True origin is the cause, right? So what is the cause of suffering? It's the karma and delusion, right? The delusion mainly, of course. And among the delusion is the ignorance, ignorance, attachment, anger, and so forth. So because of that, because of the ignorance, then we do something wrong, right? And because of doing something wrong, then we experience suffering. So the suffering comes from that wrong action, which is caused by a wrong mentality or mind, delusions.
Wrong action, the wrong action, Tata in some they chene, co check on Nordenza, never was.
So the action that follows the delusion is always wrong action. Right? But we don't know that. So we are attached to something and then we want to get something and then we think, oh yes, I can do this. This is the right way to do to get that thing so that I can be happy. But then that makes it us more suffering, experience more suffering, right? So not knowing that, we don't know that, and then we always engage in the wrong action. And and so any kind of action that follows the delusion, is the wrong action. So that also is nothing to do with the religion, right? Is a reality thing, right? So most of us, we always think that whatever we do is right, right? So mostly we think that, right? So of course, oh, this is wrong and I'm going to do it. You don't think like that, right? So I think this is right, that's why I'm going to do it. That's what, right? That's what we think. So we don't think, oh, this is wrong, but I'm going to do it. We don't think like that. So when we do, we think that's right, that's why we do it. For example, the thing that we all know about, like the 9/11 thing, right? So when that happened, and then the American government thought that, oh, we have to go into war, right? That will solve the problem. But no, that doesn't solve the problem. That increases the problem, right? That only increases, brings more and more problem. So that kind of wrong action, So of course, whoever the president is who decides to go on the war doesn't think, oh, this is wrong and I'm going to do it. No, doesn't think like that. He thinks that this is the right and then this will solve the problem. That's what he thought, and then he did it. But of course, it happens to be wrong. So now it's gotten so worse that you can't even stop it and you can't even continue it. So you don't know what to do. You're kind of stuck in the middle now.
Right?
So it's like, you're holding a hot pot in your hand, like clay pot, So if you hold it, you burn your hand. If you let go it, you will break the pot. So what do you do now? I got in stuck. And so anyway, so whatever experience, the bad experience, the suffering experience that we're going through is all caused by wrong action. So it's not, of course, if we think honestly, in detail, then we'll know, I can come to understand that, right? It's nothing to do with the religion. It's not like, okay, you have to believe in that way. It's not like that. It makes sense. It has a logical reason to prove that that's the wrong action. So, so when we say that if you don't want to experience suffering, then don't create a cause for that. That makes sense, right? That's logical. Yeah, so it's nothing to do with the religion. It's not like a blind faith, thinking that, oh, yes, that's how it is. It's not that. It is proven logically, right?
근데 이제 다 담보 산지 좀 내가서나 나도 지들에 때 냥교 나도 시거다 나도 때 단에 따고 말아봤어. 아니 산지 다 담보 동아도 시왔지. 동아 시와. 그러.
네.
동아 시바지. 아니 대질라 대게 제대 가와도 근줄에 대빵 거래서 라바래서.
And so first you have to understand the suffering, right? So what is suffering and what is not suffering? You have to understand that. So we don't even know what is suffering. And not knowing that that's a suffering, or mistaking it for a happiness, we go after that, and then end up, being suffering. So anyway, so first we have to understand the suffering. So first understand the suffering as the suffering, and then once you have understood that, so that's why Buddha says first understand the suffering, and then find out the cause of the suffering. So once you have found the cause of the suffering, then abandon it. So it says understand the suffering, understand the true suffering, abandon the true origin.
나사 딱 나도 지금 나가러 와 나사된 것은 근데 나사기 저대세 지금 와 아니 나사기 저대세 쳐서 아니 신의 나사대 자야 누도 문제 되는 신의 매트도 와를 마대 미세 lum바대 때 지금도 와 나사 그마서 매트 생각도 안 돼.
So just like when we go to see a doctor with some kind of problem, right? Oh, I feel this, I feel that, and then first they have to find out what disease is that, right? Once they have found out the disease, then they say, okay, where did this come from? What is the cause of the disease, right? And then to prevent that, then you will be given a medicine. Okay, so you have to take this medicine to cure that, And so that's, it's the same as that. So here, first you understand the suffering, and then the cause of the suffering, where the cause of suffering came from, and then abandon that cause.
그러와 드레다 나사게 제대 가리 다 제가 슈거 나사야나 슈페나 슈거 나사라나 오다 가모마다 조제 가보마다 지지 마다미 강가 같이 지금도 왔어 저 강가 드레다 나도 남이 집어러 왔어 오다 동안도 다죠 내차 셔당 코루 양와도 말로 더 강가 제가 나사요 제르다 집바 시장 건다 로도 왔어 삼로 땅와이나.
So, like if you find out, if your doctor finds out that you have diabetes, and then I say, oh, you have diabetes, you cannot eat sugar, you cannot eat white flour, and so forth. Right? So all these things, So this is where the disease comes from, and then so you understand the cause where it came from, and then to cure that, then you are given this kind of medicines. So it's a similar here. You understand the suffering, where and then understand where the suffering comes from, and then prevent or abandon that cause of the suffering.
Right? This is very, if you think very carefully, it's very makes sense. Makes sense, right? Then if you got the doctor got your diabetes, then if you like very much to ice cream, then you have to cut out, right? Like that. 아니 멤버들이 따그러 와서 아 밑에 나사 자야 돼 뭐도 자야 뭐나 아니 그 결과를 샤샤 놓고 아니 그 자야 와도 지금 통화이나 아니 그매 간주 만주 제가 그다음 지금 놓았어 그래서 나도 대도 찍 받았어 오 근데 누가 영화에 짜와 근주에도 코파에도 요 말을 그 매워서야 너도 만들었어 어 산지가 요다 대방에 뻥뻥 고바에서 요다 아니 그 담았어 방 고바에서 어 요다 대방 뻥아지 요다 대런 고바라 그랬지 때 말았어.
And so the doctor will see what is the disease, where it came from, what kind of medicine can be given, and so it can be cured or not, right? So if it can be cured, then you take the medicine, right? So if it cannot be cured, then I say, oh, maybe you can do this, you can do that. They won't, push so much. But if you can be cured, then they will push, say, okay, do this, do that, and so forth. So give all this medicine, and so finding that this can be cured is same as finding is the true cessation, right? So finding out that, oh yes, I can get rid of this suffering. So first you understand suffering and see where the suffering came from, and then you see that suffering can be ceased. So when you see the suffering can be ceased, then you say, what do I do to cease the suffering, right? So what do I do to achieve the cessation? That way you cease the suffering, right? So to achieve the cessation, then I have to practice the path, right? So just like that, in order to be cured, Can it be cured or not? Yes, it can be cured. So if it can be cured, then what do I have to do to get cured? I have to take medicine, right? So taking medicine is like practicing the path,
right?
Meditating on the path. So that's the Four Noble Truths, right? So true suffering, true origin, true cessation, and then true path. So it's very similar, to that analogy, right? Of the disease, and then the cure for the disease, the cause of the disease, and cure for the disease, and the medicine that cures, cures the disease. So it's similar to that. We find out what is the suffering, and where the suffering came from, and what can we do to prevent or be free from this suffering. And in order to do that, then we have to practice on the path. So what is the path, right? So that's abandoning what is to be abandoned and cultivating what is to be cultivated. So in that sense, it's like abandoning all the negativities or the delusions and cultivating all the positive state of minds like loving kindness, compassion, and so forth. And so the true path is the one that liberates us from the suffering, right? So it's not talking about just any kind of path. It's talking about the actual path that liberates us, that frees us from all this suffering. That would be the true path, and that is referring to the wisdom realizing emptiness directly. Only that can completely free us. But of course, in our case, if you have not reached that level, you have not realized emptiness directly, then you will not be able to free, of course, completely. But in our case, even like practicing, abandoning the 10 and virtues action, abandoning or absorbing the morality of abandoning 10 and virtues action. If we do that, that becomes like a similar to the true path. So that at least frees us from the sufferings of the lower realms. And so in the same case, in the taking refuge, so the Buddha, is like the doctor, the teacher. He's a teacher, so he's like the doctor who says, "Oh, this is it. This is it. This is the disease, or this is that kind of disease. This is this kind of disease, and so forth." So he identifies or diagnoses the disease, and then he gives you the medicine. So medicine is the one that actually cures the disease. Just like that, the path that we practice is the one that actually frees us from the suffering. And so if we practice that path, so here in the case of the small scopes path, then we're talking about freeing from the sufferings of the lower realm, right? For that, we have to practice the morality of abandoning the 10 and virtues actions.
Okay? And the Nenga the Hakone Nambi Chulo Chevana, Michigan Kitchen and to tell Lanchi, Kuyu Jab to this. They are Hamagochi Tang, that legend is that Sigures, and how much in the Ducha younger is, Kaji Duja Lavana could Kusham make each other with us. Tanzo then when the cook Korampi Temboza, Manzovichi, Masada Masama, Tembo Charo.
And so by understanding this, if you practice or study Dharma, then when somebody asks you what is Buddhism, what is karma, and so forth, then you'll be able to explain in a right way. And otherwise, if you don't understand that, then when you say what is Buddhism, and then you get confused. It's like, well, Buddhism is a vast subject, right? You can say this, that, so many things, but what is the fundamental or the basic of the Buddhism?
Okay. Does it make sense? Pecha Shavana, me Savatane, me Bata, and Narsada, me Sungan, so me, not another touching it, matter was. 근데 상제 추 게데선데 나도 뭐네 뇽몰 파 타와지 상제 가지고 추데레스.
So among the three, the doctor, the medicine, the nurse, what is the one that actually cures the disease? It's the medicine, right? So just like that, in the three objects of refuge that we have, the main one that frees us from the suffering, or that actually protects us, from the suffering, is the Dharma.
어, 근데 Dharma서 양 지당 좋으시다. 너나도 야보다 가지 먹게 접은 좀. 아니 소주가 쌤 요모 와도 만들어 줘야지. 제대로 단 적도 외로워.
So what is the Dharma again? So like of course in Dharma, actual Dharma, the real Dharma will be the true path, which is the wisdom realizing emptiness directly. But in this case, the Dharma to protect us from the sufferings of the lower realm is the abandoning the 10 unvirtuous actions.
다 가리다면 요모 되게 뭐 까타와는 요모 되게 제네 요모도 제외 누가는 것도 양가 말더라. 요모 되게 곧 까타와는 요모 가리에 봐요.
So when we abandon the delusion, then whatever wrong action we're going to engage from that delusion will be prevented. And if we prevent that wrong action, then the suffering that comes from that wrong action will be also prevented, right? So we'll not have to go through that suffering.
배차잖아. 다 지나게 좋아하는 게임에는 즉 나를 내가 나를 걸어야 지 나라이나 나라이 그때 칼라 손 매워 있나? 지나 그 칼라 마서를 지들한테 코로 사와 있나? 지나 니가 나까지 맞죠 차로 와서 대 코로 딱 그럼 마서와 지니 즉 내도와 있나? 아니 코로 세우 동안도 양가만 더 왔을 때라고 다 깨나오지.
So for example, there's a husband and wife. So one of them stays home, the other one goes to work. So the one who goes to work comes home and finds that there's no food prepared. Right? And so it's let's say the wife in general, right, who stays at home. I'm just kidding. Looks like the wife's done like that. Unless the husband, when he's at home and wife is working very hard, coming home hungry and finding food, So she gets angry, right? And then she gets angry and then she says these things. But where does that anger lead? Where does that anger lead her? To experience more suffering, right? Right? So if she didn't get angry, if she said, oh, maybe, he got busy or did something like that, and that's okay, it takes just 2 minutes to prepare this instant noodles, so it's okay. Right? So if you think like that, the anger, the suffering that you had to go through because of getting angry will not be there, right? So so that's how you experience the suffering. You come, if you get angry, then you experience the suffering. So that is the delusion. The anger is the delusion that brings the suffering.
Okay. Therefore, you can order the pizza. I think here in India, the monasteries, sometimes the monk doesn't give food, they go to buy tupa. The tupa is always ready in the restaurant. Cheap, also easy to get. Here everybody says pizza. Right? Yes.
Krishna, I'm not sure that everyone would agree that by getting angry you're causing more suffering. I think a lot of us, particularly we're angry at the moment, think that we're going to make it better by getting angry. That will actually help solve the problem. That's how the world operates. When someone invades your country, they respond back. And that's how we also operate.
그냥 벌써.
미소마다 콘도 사바나다 콘도 내가 야고 차그랬어. 당연하다. 나 콘도 땜바이나 제막 뭐 거의 뭐 다다 갈았어 차그랬어. So if I get angry, then my wife will prepare food for me next time, right?
That's what we assume.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you're just going to eat that all next time. Maybe you're just going to eat that all next time.
Yeah,
no, normally that doesn't happen. Not with me though. No, just kidding.
This is the truth. Everybody not agree with this. This is mistake. You see, agree also. Can learn the money that show him. Because you need to read them to take that as well. Paju the women say na, and can learn the money that we need to tell this.
So of course, that's what we think, but we're wrong to think like that, right? In general, logically or generally, if we get angry, then that only brings more suffering, right? That's how it is, but we don't realize that. That's why we think we're wrong, to think that, okay, if I get angry, then maybe, it will get done next time, like that.
콘도사 먹어봤더니 깨져지는 파시님 지나다데 야쇼래서 콘도사는 사탄도 코다 야보이 몇 번이 타쳐버려.
So you don't have to get angry, right? You can do without getting angry. You can ask, why is there no food?
Yeah.
I'm not angry. Why is there no food? You can find out, right? And then then maybe there's explanation. If you can ask nicely, then maybe then he or she will explain why is there no food, right? But if you get angry, then maybe they will not even bother to explain, and then they will get angry, and you get more and more angry, and that way it will only bring more suffering. But we don't understand that, of course, and we always think that's how it is, and that's why we go for that, and we end up experiencing more and more trouble.
근데 양아 대사만게 지 파초베 못 가로 달래가 도도는 내야나요. 공로마다 개 말아봐 샤줄라고 말어. 양콜파 라테 단대로 계시네. 한체 여러와서. 대 뭐발래서 내가 야지 동 여러와서.
So this is for the husbands, okay? If the wife makes mistake, you say sorry. then you'll get along, No, just kidding.
양미 파조에 가로 다 도도연으로 도도들어. 근데 야고 재면은 양고 다 샤샤매로. 양텔 계시나 한 먹어봤고 예지다 답시 들적으로 공로 마사오지.
Yeah, it's very difficult for us to not get angry and then talk nicely, to the husband or wife. It's really difficult. But if we can do that, nicely talk, and then I was hoping that there will be food and something like that. I don't know if that's the way to talk, but something like that. If you check, and then if we can explain, or discuss, or ask in a nice way, maybe there will be no problem next time.
때문에 손다 저랑게 미실은 존로쇼거나 콘도 마사는 존로쇼나 저나 포고다 따따 포고래서 저는 콘도 사이는 저 가지고 있는데 포고다 포고 말았습니다.
So his holiness said that if you're punching somebody, if you punch somebody without anger, then you'll be able to punch to the place that you want to punch. But if you are angry and then with the anger you punch here and there, but you will not punch to the place where you want to punch. You'll be punching at different places. If you punch with anger, but if you punch without anger, then you'll be able to punch to the place where you want to punch.
근데 때문에 손도 간제 콘도 간제 렌로거나. 그리고 렌로거나 콘도 마사벨는다 렌도 따따 놓고 그래서.
Like a boxer, right? So they have points in the body where you hit, and then you get more points. Yeah, strategy. And the same with the responding. So when you respond to somebody, if you, that's right. Exactly. So when you respond to somebody, if you respond with anger, then it will always be wrong. But if you respond without anger, then you will respond in a nice way. That will be the right response.
And if you want to write a letter, then without anger, you can say maybe more, what we call
nicely.
Nicely. Then also signaboda laptop.
So you'll be able to say the right word, and you'll be able to say, or hit to the point, the thing that you really want to say. But otherwise, if you write it with the anger, then you will say all the different things, and then it will not hit to the point. Instead, it will only cause other person to get more angry.
그래서 단다 대화장 나지. 가서 근데 가게 가서 콘도 사는 지금 봐줘 강에다 새야 답시마다 강에다 많은 땅 가서 용계 가서 캔나게 말아. 가서 강에 때 좀 땅게 말았어.
So like you said, Deborah, and of course we think that if we get angry and talk, and then this will be resolved, but most of the time it doesn't. So it doesn't. But even still, then we don't realize that. So it takes time for us to get used to that thought of thinking in that way, and to tolerate and to not get angry. With the practice. Yeah.
Okay, first, Murian. Did I say correct?
You said it right, yes.
Morin. Morin. Okay, Morin.
I think you already answered my question, but I guess I'll just say it and ask it anyway. My question was, if you recognize that you have a very strong, negative emotion arising, and you don't want it to keep arising, what do you do to, like I'm not even talking about acting on it or saying words, that are motivated by that action. I mean, by that emotion. But if you just recognize it and it's arising, sort of inside your body and mind, and it doesn't sort of go away by itself, and what do you do with that?
그때 단도선도 가르치려고 진짜 가원려고 그냥 가르치자. 이제 가르치려고 소소지 요로 공로사도 됐다고 다지고 매고 매가 말했을 때 진짜 상담을.
So you have to understand where it is coming from. Where is it coming from? Why is it coming? You have to understand that. It will not just go away by itself. You have to think about that.
당부때 some 가원려고 가르치려고 진짜 가르치자. 아니 진짜 솔솔 왔다때 좀 당.
지난 모습을 들으다. 단 요몽어서 라는 거라다. 배는 더 샤기 거라. 배는 컨트롤랑드나 하면 컨트롤랑드나 더 샤기야. 되는데 더 샤기도 그냥 답변은 하면 아주 타도도 랑게다. 근데 다 랑드는 딱 랑 심각해서 그 가고라. 근데 다들 티카 답실 같이 그랬어.
단 차도도 말하면 내랑 건데 진짜 되고 님이 걸삼 당걸 대 야쇼도 그랬어. 말하면 내라. 아니 이 라위 지진은 차도 나게 지진으로 가르쳐야 될지 초도 처음부터 될어서 당을 스티커야.
샘 신다질 포션나 돼야 양편으로.
라이 갑도 가서 딱하게 그거 싫어했어. 이나지 샘 셴바지 뒤고지는 상당마다지 야 셴먹을 샘 고도 거로.
So usually when it is already arising, it's very difficult to stop. At that time, it's difficult to stop. So the best way to practice is to think about the disadvantage of the delusion before the delusion arises. Like right now, no delusion is arising. So we keep talking about all the disadvantages about anger. So you keep thinking, and then you meditate on that. You meditate on the disadvantage of the anger. Yeah? You do all this like analytical meditation. Oh, if I get angry, I do this, I get that. Therefore, I should not get angry. You come to the conclusion and you keep your mind on that. I should not get angry. Just focus on that. Keep your mind on that as long as possible. Then you resolve your mind, to not get angry. Yeah? So then, when the anger comes, you say, "Oh no," because you have practiced, you have familiarized yourself, to not get angry. Then you say, "Oh no, anger is bad, so I shouldn't get angry." So then you'll be able to stop anger like that. Yeah. So that's one way. Yeah. The other way is to shift your mind. Who you're getting angry towards. Like say your spouse, your husband, your children, or your neighbor, whoever, and just think about something else. If you shift your mind to something else, the anger will go away also. That's a very tricky one, so it's very quick and instant. You can get, but that's of course difficult also if you're not used to that. But of course you have to know about that. So why I'm thinking about this? This is not good. I shouldn't be thinking about. So okay, let me think about something else. You shift your mind like that, and then if you don't think about that, you'll not be angry.
텐데가라 텐데 맞아. 텐데콜에 다지 소소 파줘와데 야보 맞아와데 진짜 삼다 지나 아니 컨트롤 가로 컨트롤라 가라 곰자네 말 땅 아니 돌돌이 먹어.
So if you don't shift your mind in that way, but if you keep your mind there, let's say your neighbor, so David, is that right? No, just David's bad. And if you keep thinking like that, he did this, he did that, like that, then, just example. I'm not saying anybody like that. So if you say that, if you keep thinking on that, then anger will become more and more. It will increase, Or if you shift your mind to something else, then that stops there. There was anger there, but then it doesn't increase, It doesn't bother you anymore.
Example, you think about like that, the Tamchit example, David, who's the neighbor. You say, oh, he parked his car all the time in front of my house. Then you think about it, oh, he put the trash bag all the time, my friend. Think about it more. Also, they bother you. They bother you a lot. You don't pay attention to what he's parking, but they don't cost you. It's a lot of things we just make our mind, right? Okay, now your question.
Yeah, the proof that anger doesn't help suffering is that we experience that by holding on to the anger and further acting out on the anger. That suffering that you had continues, it doesn't stop. So that's the proof that anger produces more suffering. It doesn't stop the suffering. So that when you're getting angry, I mean, I know the cause of it, but I know this is not going to be good if I keep it. Is that right?
Yeah.
Good, thank you. Yes?
Is there ever a justification for anger in a personal or a worldly situation? I mean, can getting angry benefit sentient beings because of their ignorance or something like that? I mean that's probably an age-old question, because people, especially, okay, well, if I get angry, it'll stop somebody from harming another person or from taking action that may harm other sentient beings. You know what I mean? So I mean, I guess.
Yeah. It's sometimes have this benefit, but not angry in your inside. Showing the angry action, showing the angry action, motivation, compassion, you can help others. Understand?
Yeah, if you're motivated by the compassion,
Yeah.
and it comes out as
You're not angry though.
Yeah,
You're not really angry.
It's not really angry. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
a very exaggerated concern for other,
Yeah.
for something.
그러나 대가
Yeah.
대용으로 대가 콘도 산다 콘도 수술 내가 그러고 근데 이제 콘도 맞아.
베나다 콘도산에 어디 딱딱 콘도산 디촌에 콘도산나 딱딱해. 제가 여러 번 했어. 콘도라다.
아네 다
지난 콘도에나 독자에 배쳐버려 여기 딱 콘도 어디 촌에 콘도산은 디그랬어요. 제가 여러 번 했어.
대용 콘도 두차 미쳐버다.
So there's no justification for anger. You cannot say, okay, in this case it's all right to get angry. There's no such case.
콘도 간다 랑고 예 간다 내가 찌 이와레스.
So earlier when he was saying about with the compassion, if you get angry, that's showing angry, but not really getting angry. No, you can't get angry.
It's like a
Wrathful action, yes. Being being tough, being tough and being strict, like that. You scaring the person to make them do good, behave good. You can tell them in a wrathful way, but out of concern for them and out of compassion for them, So if you do that, that's okay, but that's not really anger though, right? That's not really angry though. So there's no justification for anger. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Compassion, yes. Yeah.
Okay? Okay, now today we go to we skill. Okay. Can you read the verse 61? Remember? I think last was we just talking, then we didn't go to school, right? But you guys are very the just two region. Pay about it. The just two region.
60.
Verse 61. Okay? You got it? 61 or 51? 61. Okay, good. Yeah. Can you read? Yeah. Can you read this first? 다 hlöbe 담스 그시 중 hloma 펜토 교래 중 본시 또빈 걸라 제스저 다다 시민이 말아야 세다 네가 가나 다 라마도 hloma 니가라야
So this verse where it says, although my preceptors are many, my ability to keep my vows is small. Although my disciples are many, I give little time to help and look after them. Roar and thunder on the head of the destroyer, the false construction, mortally strike at the heart of the butcher, the enemy ego. So this is advice for both teacher and disciple to be conscientious.
And then how much you thank you. And then again the lad, Suzuki. Takaro. Then Risa Mares and Yatamut, Matim and Tachi Chegores. Then Tabi Jugula, and then Karimu Karina Kanji, that there were low and Suzolaya, Depai Wanda, and then Nayo Marta, that's what I was.
So, although my preceptors are many, my ability to keep my vows is small. So, what it means, the preceptor here is talking about the teacher, right? So, I understand that. So, when we have a teacher, the teachers give us advice, and we have to follow those advices. So, that's our vow. Our vow, our commitment is to follow the advices. We get so many advices from all these many different teachers, but we, don't follow most of those advices. That's what it's saying, right? So when we take somebody as our teacher, we have to be very careful to check about that teacher. So somebody who has all the qualities to be teacher, then you should take that person as your teacher. And also, of course, you should check yourself if you are able to devote to that person or not. If you're not, then you should not be taking that person as your teacher yet. And so that's what it's talking. So there's example in the Tibetans use. They said, like, when the dog sees meat, it will just grab it, right? So it should not be like that. When you see teacher, you should not just go ahead and then receive all these instructions, initiations, and so forth. Right? So you have to check carefully the teacher first, and then once you have found that he or she is a suitable teacher, then you take that teacher as your teacher. And from that onward, whatever advice, or whatever commitments, and whatever vows that you have received from that teacher, then you should keep that. Just like you should protect those vows, just like you will protect your eyeballs. Right? So then there's a possibility that you will be able to achieve enlightenment in one lifetime.
Yeah, anyway, protect our bodies very carefully, right? I put also a lot of medicines here. Sometimes they make me worse. What is that? Again, and Loma Kanju Manju, that do your master Kaji. Look at what? Natural get we chain, Kanga Kanji, Kanachi, Maris. Can I chase have Samala? And then Sosa Chingon, Linga, something is in a Suzung and the Kanto, which to take was lovers.
So then also I'm talking about the teachers, right? So teachers cannot take anybody as their disciple. Once they have taken somebody as their disciple, then they should look after the disciple. So like in the case of the monks in the monastery, when somebody takes that monk as their disciple, then they have to look after the monks, spiritually, financially, like materially, and also all sorts of things. So whatever they need, you have to give them. And and so if you cannot do that, then you should not take them as your disciple.
아니 소주 기투야 제체면서 말아 아니 다조 추건 라비셔다 추건에 펜도 가요지 아니 다 제거레스 소주라 지 빼주로 되게 제때 기투야 아니야 기투라 고야기 랍자도 맞아와이나 다들 개개가 농토레스
And sometimes the teachers will take somebody as a disciple if that person makes a lot of offering, right? They say, oh, you make big offerings, a lot of money, contribution, then they say, oh, this person, and I'll take the disciple. But then you don't give them good advice. Don't train them, with the teachings and all these things. Then that's not good, So of course, the teacher should not look into that. Look into those things. Should just take anybody who has the ability to study and practice, no matter what the person is, whether the person is rich or poor, or whether he or she makes a lot of offerings or no offerings, should take the person as a disciple if one can, guide that person through.
Lama yesu de ten, tina chi keta sheri chen de ten, susu nguni kaya lani kadina chi, ta susu la chi, kanyam lani chi, ta kaya labja che tinga tala, ko sani sha sha ro, ane samsung kaya leo yung ka res. Gege nana ya chi loma kanju ma chi te susu la chi penjo la tere yung wa shi ten, nguni goya ki ane labja ma jaga tere mambo yung res. Tansu kawa tuwa na, ta danda mari pa nel tuwa res. Ta tuwa tela res.
So there are people, who always tend to go for lamas, who are famous, right? So high lamas, famous. They say, oh yeah, this is famous, and I should go to take refuge. I should go to take, this and that initiation, this and that vows, and so forth, right? But then the teacher that they always live together with, don't even consider that person as their teacher, and just regard that person as ordinary person, and that's not good. Shouldn't do like that, And then also teachers, should not look for the disciples, who make more offerings. Should see all the disciples in the same equally, and give the advice, to all of them, to follow the path. So this is for those who follow Buddhism, right? So then it will make sense. But if you are not Buddhist, and if you tell this somebody who's not Buddhist, this doesn't make much sense to them. And so in order to, like I said earlier, the Guru devotion, is the first realization you should have. Once you have that, then you will be able to have all other realizations. All the subsequent realizations will come just like that. But if you don't have that, then there's no way, So when we say Guru devotion, you know what it means? To devote somebody as your Guru means what? Means what? That's right. So you see the Guru as a Buddha. That's the Guru devotion, right? It's the realization of Guru devotion is to be able to see. And so that's why Lama Atisha said, you Tibetans, see the Guru as an ordinary person. You don't see him or her as a Buddha. You see him as an ordinary person. Therefore, you Tibetans don't have any realizations. So when you say when we say we have to see somebody, we have to see our teacher as a Buddha, it's not for the teacher's benefit, it's for our own benefit, right? Because if we see him as an ordinary person, will we follow everything that he says? No. Right? But if we see him as a Buddha, then everything that he says we will follow. So if we follow all the teachings that we receive from the Guru, then we'll be able to achieve all this realization very quickly. Right? Because we see him as an ordinary person, we don't follow the advices, therefore we don't get any realization.
Okay, today is a yede kenji tenshi ji se ba yede gange ga zawa ane spena tan dambele ge chi changsan jeso sare ba de chi ba se la wa.
So that's why it says the Guru devotion is the foundation of all good qualities.
Today baza kaso Laos. I said something I forgot. Anyway, what do you something to do? Tangazo Kangata, Yelmutter, the Sawa, the Nande, Kuala was touching what Gagas of Kronola Bishop Chego, the Drake Chetres, the Remares, Sozujela, Yende, and Jaga Tashi, or the Drake Chetima, Gego, China, Machina, Korea, that there was.
So, of course, because we have known each other for a long time, therefore you will not misunderstand if I say this, but otherwise, the new one, new people might think that, oh, he's saying that, we should see him as a Buddha.
And you can say, oh, we didn't see him Buddha, how can we do? Today, the Nantoma Kaje, Kadina, Suzuki, not Jen should die, Maris, because it's Jen Toina, that's no Matawa, Samana. 되게 소주고 대화도 발라로 말was. 다 세마서 딱 코야 오침 됐나? 아니 소주 다 발라로 좋은 소주라고 그래.
So if we don't see the teacher as a higher being, like a Buddha, then we will not have a faith or respect, faith, and devotion. If you don't have that, then you will not follow. Right? So you lose it. You follow the advices, and then you will not gain all those realizations. So you lose it. Therefore, there's always profit. To see the guru as a Buddha.
Okay. Okay, now we stop here. We have very finally gone 2 weeks to 1 verse. Right? But anyway, before we talk about that, 4 number truths is very important. If you have very deep understand 4 number truths, then maybe you never lose the faith. Because a lot of people lose the faith, they don't have very deep understand the Buddhism, knowledge. Then they think, oh, I become Buddhism, I'm the special person. Then they say nothing, they're the same person. Then they say, oh, it's not working, just, I'm all the same. It's not, because we have to act something, right? Therefore, 4 number 2, you can think it. If you mind something contradiction, then we have to debate. It's not working, We talk more, because we are more people who have different idea, different understand, we discussion more clear. Then you can also, they hear more, then they stay your mind more. I have this really experience. When I was debate class, one subject we debate a lot, still I remember this. We just once, twice, then go, then complete forgot. Therefore you say again and again, you think more the think about that, then they become more stable. Therefore, Buddhism say, we have to always logic. Even the Dalai Lama say, don't say Buddha say, you have to do logic. You have to prove the logic. If you say Buddha because Buddha said that, then who doesn't believe Buddha? You cannot prove that, the logic. Therefore, we have to, even the not prove, or say not prove, I have to say, not prove, then, it's, what we call it, nothing benefit. We need to logically, exactly know what's true or not. Just use the logic. Not, not like blind, When in the monasteries also we have own followed teachers, like
Scriptures.
Scriptures. Then we doesn't agree each other's. Then Buddhism,
so there's different scholars who compose the scripture, and so each monastery have different scholars, who has written the text. Same in the college, right? You have books written by many different, composers, many different writers. So you follow the the book of this writer in this college, and maybe different college they follow the book written by the other writer, right? And so they might say different ways, and then these people from this college will not accept that because they study this writer's book, right? And then other college. So that kind of like that things in the monasteries also.
Yeah, we do like that. Then don't do that. You have to make the logic. Logically prove, follow the Nagarjuna, Shantideva, Dharmarakshita, like that. Anyway, if you study very deep, understand the 4 number truths, then you have more faith. The more makes sense. Right? Now, if Guru Drupal, some new people we talk, then it's not very comfortable, what they're talking about, looks, they're looking for something, always respect, not like that. Okay? Then any other questions? Okay, if no questions, then good night. We can finish. Thank you. Gracias. Oh, muy bien. Okay, thank you, Chandi Master.
Okay. Page 39. From my two collections, vast space, practice the great length of time. May I become a sheep leading to all whose minds, which minds find way. Even if I do not receive that your loving compassion for all my lives brings me. May I find the best complete great path of teaching. May I produce all the fruits of my practice. Jesus still the means for all my spiritual compassion. May I feel the practice of the mind for all people. With my heart going out with great compassion in every direction, the most precious teachings have not yet spread, nor one spread have defined. May I reveal this treasure of happiness today. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddhist teeth be nourished for a long time. My administrative course to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their children. May all human and non-human beings eliminate adversity and make things conducive for practicing the excellent paths. Never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes an effort to act in accordance with the tenfold way and virtuous practices, may they always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. In the snow mountain encircled land, source of every benefit and joy, may Lord transient Gyaso Chen remain in light till samsara ends. Page 49. You who uphold the subduing moral way, serve as the mountain bearer of all, sustaining, preserving his great life, first doctrine, masterly accomplishes honoring the teacher. Savior of myself and others, your disciples, please, please live long. The dedication? Continue. Okay. Prayer to always meet with perfect teachers. Your form embodies all Buddhas. Your nature is that of Buddha. You are the root of angels, homage to you. In short, I seek your blessings, O protector, to keep your guidance from birth throughout all my life. And thus to become your chief disciple, my afterlife reality is in your return. May my spiritual master impart to me every instruction and every teaching in its entirety. Having understood them faultlessly, may I practice them and be able to do them to perfection. May I never fall under the sway of malevolent teachers and practices. Having resolved in every life you can cause and effect, realization of the divine. May I embark upon a continuing Buddhism experience. In every life, may every virtuous action be by every wise speech and mind, because solely for the welfare of others and for the purest highest enlightenment. Page 57. Through this virtue may I swiftly Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Kurukulla. I don't have many announcements tonight. Just a couple to folks. His Holiness the Dalai Lama's teachings. We all know about them. October 30th, he'll be in the Ngawang Theater teaching about the 8 verses of thought transformation. And then on the Saturday following, he's going to do a general speech in the TD Garden. And that's hosted by the Tibetan Association. It's from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. And I believe that's on the Saturday. And then he's also teaching or having a keynote speech at MIT. There's a conference all about neuroscience and the mind and how things improve students' ability to learn, how they can improve the education system. That's what this whole conference is about. And that runs Thursday through Sunday, I believe. In any case, so that's also running, and he will have the keynote speech at that event as well. For all these, for the Ngawang Theatre, tickets are available on Ticketmaster, and then for the one by the Tibetan Association, we're busy finding out to get pre-sale tickets, how one can get those. Otherwise, I think August 7th is when those tickets go on sale. Then other than that, for our center, we are looking to have a barbecue for everyone. That's September, the second weekend in September. It'll be out in Gloucester, but as we get things a little bit more organized, we'll let you guys know. But if you can kind of pencil in that date as a barbecue date, it's a Saturday. I'll definitely have in the upcoming newsletter, I'll have a little bit more about it. Sean, anything else? Okay. Yeah, the Seralachi monks are here. We're hosting them at this moment. There's no events planned for them, but if folks could bring fruit would be, yeah, just an offering of fruit would be lovely. Just bring some to the center. That'll be that's kind of the thing most needed at this time.
Be available to help.
Yes. Yeah.
10 days.
Okay, that's a while. Okay. Yeah, so we'll, if you want to help, reach out to Kimber, reach out to me, and we can figure out and let you know where and how and what you can help us. And that's it. And pack everything up, and that's great. Great. Thank you very much.
Everybody. Have a good night.